Fallen Angels #3, written by Hill, drawn by Kredinsky, but definitely not that cover. That cover was not drawn by Kredinsky. How do I know? Because it's beautiful. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Longbox Diving, where we explore comics and story arcs pulled from the long box. Now, the #2 book in the Dawn of X series, this relaunch of the X-Men, is Fallen Angels. And I believe that this is not getting as good reviews, and honestly, in my opinion, because Kredinsky is doing the art. And it's just, the art's just, it's hard. It's hard to deal with. I know it will be a while before we could ever see a change in that place. And I don't mean me to mean to the guy. It's not good. I can't. Other people might like it. I can't stand it. It just drives me nuts. But I think that's why it's not getting as good press as the other books are. And because of that. And that's why I think people think Marauders or X-Men are even better. But I think Fallen Angels is #2. The story is fantastic. Action. It's got action in it. It's got story. It's got character building. All of it's in here. It's fantastic. Now, I wish the cover artist was doing the insides. That cover artist is doing a great job on that cover. Now, remember last issue, the three, X-23, Psylocke, and Cable, had gone to the Brazil to go to a camp that they're experimenting children for this overclock drug. And so they get there, and we kind of get this dialogue here. It says, "I know where God lives. God lives in the moments that end lives. God lives in the moments of birth. They're neither good nor bad. God is, God cannot consider morality. God is purpose. I am Apoth. I am God. God made by man to make man as God." So we kind of get this whole dialogue there that kind of is telling us what the goal of Apoth is. It was a God made by man to make man God. And God doesn't care death, life, it doesn't matter. Morality is not a consideration. The only goal is to make men like gods. Now, kind of sounds like the same group that we have over in X-Force, Purge Mask group, who is trying to unlock evolution to evolve man. Here, this is trying to turn men into gods. Kind of interesting stuff going on. I don't know how that's going to play out, but we see them, and they got this big monstrosity metal object thing that's there, and they're going to go fight it. Now, Cable, being his normal self, is like, "Oh, this won't take long. I've done this before. I've dealt with this before." And he goes and shoots. Bah, 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 bah. And out of nowhere comes this whip-like chain thing, and bam, knocks him for a loop. He flies out, flies wherever that, right? Well, all of a sudden, this like chain gun starts opening up at them. Bah, 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 bah. And Psylocke has to push X-23 out of the way. And she's like, "Hey, you weren't watching." And X-23 is like, "You were watching Cable, and you always watch the enemy. Don't take your eyes off the enemy." And he's flying through the air. No. Doesn't matter. You never take your eyes off the enemy. Now, we were talking about helping to train your anger and your anger management. There are times to let loose your anger, and this happens to be one of those times. Go ahead and give it what it deserves. You never have to hide who you are from me. This is who you are. Let's go. And that's where Laura, man, X-23 just runs, sneak, the claws come out, she jumps through the air, and she, on top of things, she's just like, blah, 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 slamming things around, cutting up, in, out, the claws coming, she cuts here, cuts that, lands back on it, slashes, boom. She's doing her thing, right? The Wolverine thing. And she's doing it her way, really kind of like Wolverine, but it's cool, right? And Psylocke's like, beautiful. I love it, beautiful. Like this, like the teacher looking at her favorite student, people that just did something fantastic, right? And she goes, "How did that feel?" And she's like, "Pure." And then she starts sniffing. She's like, "Sweat." And then she starts ripping through the encasement where the top of this robot monster thing is, just ripping through it like this. And then we see something that's I thought was pretty cool. Psyblade blocks adamantium claws. Like, bam, right, to block. So adamantium cannot cut through Psyblades, at least in this picture, and that looked pretty cool. Because what was inside was a child. They had used a child that tied it into the console of this robot thing to control it with whatever psyche, and basically speaking Portuguese, saying, "Please don't kill me." It's like, do you break your heart? it's all like, you can see a little emotion on her face, but it's just really hard to tell. It says, tell him you won't. And apparently Laura speaks Portuguese. And so Psylocke comes and touches his brain. And he goes, show me what you've seen. And then she's like, apparently whatever she saw was not good. We then go back to Cable. And Cable is like tied up at branches. The branches snap. He falls to the ground. And then you hear there's something say, Nathan. And it says at the end, Nathan, let me tell you about our future. Right? And he looks over and you see this glowy but black inky spot thing. So either Nathan's having some telepathic thing going on or something just showed up there. And he starts yelling for Psylocke, hey, and X-23, I got something. And then I think it's him. I just can't tell. But something hits him in the back of the head like this. And then he kind of stands there, and it looks really, really bad. The drawing, it looks like a bad drawing of JFK with a scar over his eye. And he kind of gets in the light, and it's talking about cleansing him and bringing him in part of the one mind, and the unity and the end of pain and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, really weird. All right, so Psylocke is again in the brain of this child. She's connected with him. She goes, Apophis forces took the children. They're alive. I can track them, and it's not too late, Laura. And Laura's like she's cutting through the branches, and she's Cable's gun. And on the ground, like a burnt X is in the ground. And she's like, Cable, where are you? And then they start getting into an argument. Okay, who do we go after? Do we go after the kids we know who are caught, are in trouble, who are dying, who, that we can help them? Or do we after Cable, who is our teammate and also an adult and also very, very well-versed in fighting and taking care of himself? Who do we take? And so they kind of have this conversation like, the kids need us now. Yeah, but it's Cable, right? And so perhaps Apoth did not take him. That means Apoth could have killed him, but he didn't. That means we have time. So if Apoth did take him, he didn't kill him. He took him. So that means there's a reason for that. He's not going to kill him right away. We've got time. And finally, they come to an agreement. We're going to go after the children. All right, which way did they go? They went north. All right, so then we see Cable. He's kind of like tied up on a table or something. I can't really tell. It's so freaking dark. I can't tell what's happening. So clarity is coming, I promise. You'll know your part in this, Nathan. You are machine. You are mutant. You are man. The word for that is unity. Again, we get this idea that the one mind, the unity, we're together. We're all in this. And then we get this great final panel, and this actually was pretty cool. He goes, I am not Apoth. I just work for him. And so the unity is all we want, the end of technology, the end of mutants, the end of humanity, the end of difference itself. We're going to make everything the same. And he is like this robotic, he's got pistons, looks like pistons, pistons or electrical things coming out of his shoulders. He's got long claws. You can see his skeleton here. This is a cool drawing. This was pretty good. The rest of the drawing is like, but I wish there was lighter so I can actually tell all the little pieces. But so good story. A lot of stuff. Not a lot of movement in the story. We had basically, they showed up at the camp, and it was a huge fight scene with the robot. X-23 doing her thing. Then we had this interaction between this missionary of Apoth, prophet of Apoth, talking to Nathan about unity. And about becoming part of the hive mind and leaving behind the old things, becoming this new, and everybody's together and everything's all one. And we see the conversation between Psylocke and X-23 about letting go of the hate, being together, and then the conversation about who do we follow? Do we help the children? We help Nathan, and that's basically the whole comic. Not a lot of action, not a lot of progress in the actual story. It was like just maybe like 10 minutes, and it read really fast. Again, the only complaint I have is I don't know what's happening all the time in certain scenes or who's doing the talking because it's so dark. Or he zoomed into just eyes or just mouths. I can't tell who's doing who's actually saying it that clearly. That bothers me. That makes it hard for me to understand sometimes. Like, whoa, okay, wait, and I have to go back and read. But the art, set the art aside. You just read the comic. It's a good comic. It's a good story. Hill's doing a fantastic job. So in my mind, recommend number 2 book of the Dawn of X series. And I definitely recommend it. So if you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time here in the Long Box.